should we talk about the jury view? Since I got up
Yes,
and
please.
I
I'm fascinated. Let us know.
yeah, so I've been to a couple of these, and they're all handled very differently. This was handled fine. It was clean. I'd been to the area before, and I was kind of trying to figure out with my GPS what the 100 yards would look like, because that was the court order that the media stay back 100 yards. And
Wait, but are you media, Michael? I thought.
look at that. I, I
Oh,
am anywhere but here. Here I'm not. Yeah. In Australia, probably. Here, not so much. And for those who may not, know the shorties, Miss Shorty is not around the corner. Technology is an amazing thing, right? So, are you in
absolutely.
Melbourne? Or Sydney?
Melbourne, Melbourne,
Melbourne. Yes,
Melbourne. Yeah, you say
Mel-
Melbourne.
Melbourne. I went when I was there once. I went up to Cairns. How do you pronounce that?
Cairns,
Cairns.
Cairns.
Yeah, yeah. And it sounds to us, American types like cans, like Cannes.
Yes,
In
yes, yes,
France. And I could,
yes.
I don't know how I ever got there, because I was asking for a place. Nobody had any clue where it existed, but it was beautiful. And then we went to Dunk
Mm.
Island, which is very
Ooh,
cool. Yeah.
yes, beautiful. Way up
Yeah.
north.
Yeah. So I digress. So anyway, I get there a little early this morning because I'm not sure exactly how the whole thing's going to play out. I have never seen a case in which the attorneys, one for each side, gets to preface a jury view with a little statement. Kind of like an opening statement to the jury view. And so we heard from both Brennan and Mr. Yannetti telling this jury what to look for. Here's what's important. I hadn't seen that before. Some people have expressed some concern that, oh man, maybe this is too early in the process to have a jury view. I think it's fine. I
Mm,
think the more
perfect timing.
you know about the surroundings, the spatial orientation, as you start to hear things, it all starts to click. Oh yeah, yeah. Because at this point,
Exactly.
they know where his body was found roughly, but you got to see it. So when they went there, and it was pretty timely. They started court at about 9:03, got out the door, and they were probably on scene by a little after 10. They were there 18 minutes. They came on this lovely, you know, uh, tour type bus. The big air conditioned ones with the kind you travel with your folks in. The big giant bus with the darkened
Yes.
windows. You know the drill.
Hmm.
Of course.
A
So
coach. A coach.
a
We call
coach.
them
Yes,
coaches
there
here.
you go.
Yes.
Okay. So they got that all set up, and in a separate vehicle are the attorneys and Karen Reed. There was some question early on whether she was going to be there, which to me is ridiculous. Why would you not be there? So she was, and Yannetti was there, and Brennan were there. When they all get out of the bus, I'm trying to paint the picture of the streets as they end. Fairview dead ends into a cross street, and 34 Fairview is two houses in. So you can stand at that crossroads and see the house very clearly. That's about where the 100-meter mark was. I checked with the cops to make sure, and as other folks queued up, some had been there at the first trial and the first jury view. That's where we ended up standing. So you could see pretty well. You're not seeing faces of the jurors, but you're seeing body types and clothing and mannerisms. Interesting the way they use the court officers. They have big poles, kind of like, I don't know if they're just plastic, irrigation PVC pipes or whatever they are, and they use them sort of as if anybody's ever been on a guided tour, in a city, and they go with groups, and the group leader will have a little flag or something to make sure they don't get lost. In New York that happens all the time, and then somebody will steal the flag, but that's a whole different story. So they use them to kind of corral these folks. I think the rule was stay between these poles, don't wander outside. So they were kind of moved around in a herd, and they really went to two particular spots, and they really looked like they were basically on the street, maybe just barely on the lawn. There's no sidewalk in front of 34 Fairview. You're
Mm.
either on the lawn or you're in the street. And they were at one part, which to me would have been if you're looking at the house, the extreme left, which is where the fire hydrant is, it's where the bushes are, it's where the flagpole is, and about where Officer John O'Keefe's body would have been found. So they were there for a time. Then they moved maybe 20, 30 feet to the right, which is closer to the driveway. And, there are a couple of doors on this house. So I think that might have helped them get perspective on the two front doors. One's near a breezeway, but a lot of folks, and the testimony is similar to reinforce this. They use that as the front door. And it was almost like
it's got the mudroom there, hasn't it?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And so the other front door is more for, hey, we're having guests, right? And I think that's important because depending on which door, if any, John O'Keefe came in and out of, it would make it closer to the sidewalk, closer to where somebody else might see him. I don't know. It all factors in, but I think it's important for them to know there are a couple of front doors. And then the car was there.
All right, we'll see you Monday.
Let's see if she's good. I guess she has nothing to say.
All right.
Nope. Right to the fan.
So Tori, we should take care of that. Goodbye.
Thought I might have a hot mic moment with Jimmy. Rats. Yeah, I didn't hear. Did you hear anything? Did you hear anything of substance? I didn't hear anything.
I felt like at the very end, the last thing I heard was the words "hot mic," but perhaps that was just wishful thinking.
Yes. Hot mic. Shit. Turn it off. Okay, so yeah, because she has been caught at times, as you know. So then they looked at the car. Again, they didn't seem to stop and hover there as much as just pass by. I thought that was odd. And you'll remember the passenger taillight has been totally removed, so it's just a big hole now. Yeah. So
Michael, where was the car parked? Did they have the car parked?
That's a very good question. They had it further, in my recollection, further to the left, meaning toward the flagpole, toward the bushes, to the point where it was at the very edge of the property, and the bushes are the edge of the property. Then they had a police car behind it, obviously trying to just, I don't know. It's not like people were trying to get to their homes and they're pissed off because they couldn't for that short period of time. But it's not like somebody's going to pull up behind that car, the Lexus, and just hang out. But they had a cop car behind nonetheless to protect the rear end. And so it looked to me more like passing glances than inspection.
Do you think it feels to me like that's intentional, putting the car right there because that's to associate the car with the placement of John's body psychologically?
I don't know. It seems to be the first time they did it, the car was much closer to the mailbox.
Yep.
Right?
It was.
Wasn't it?
Right close to it was right next to the driveway.
It was not. No. It was at least like 3 car lengths further to the left with the cop car right behind it. So let's see if I made a couple of notes on my riveting observations. Let's see. Oh, I thought this was interesting. So on one side of the street, you have 34 Fairview, and that's where everybody's hanging out. Across the street is Karen Reed, her attorney, Mr. Yannetti, a couple of court officers. Any guess where Hank Brennan was? He was in the mix with the jurors. Now, obviously, we wouldn't.
Is that allowed?
He couldn't talk to them. You couldn't talk to them. I mean, nobody could talk to them. He wasn't between the poles, but he was like right there. And, as if trying to check out what they were checking out, what they were focusing on. I thought that was odd. But defense counsel and Ms. Reed stayed totally across the street. So
just Yannetti and Karen, or was Alan Jackson, Liza, anybody else there?
According to the court, he did not go, but I wasn't sure. I thought he might have accompanied Karen Reed personally, and Yannetti and Brennan were announced. The court announced them as accompanying the jury to the jury view. From where I was, gets a little difficult to size up. Brennan's easy, and Karen Reed was easy. But beyond that, Yannetti versus Jackson versus both, can't be 100% sure.
Michael, how tall do you estimate Hank Brennan is? We had this conversation last night in my live stream.
Well, I'm 6'5", so when I met him, I met him on the street, really not far behind us here. I went up, introduced myself, and it was eyeball to eyeball. So if he's 5'10", maybe. What's been the speculation?
About 5'9", 5'10".
Yeah, I think of the group, when you see them come and go, it's everybody's pretty similarly heighted, and so you'll have Jackson, and you'll have Yannetti's a little taller, and then you'll have Brennan, and then you'll have Alessi. You got to step down.
Oh, I love
You gotta step down.
Alessi.
Yeah, he is a big personality and a tiny man.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
I tower over him. Yeah.
Well,
He's-
6'5" is very tall, Michael.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I might have exaggerated. I don't know.
Yeah, details. Pish
By
posh.
half a foot. Yeah. But yeah, he is. He is noticeably the smallest dude in the mix there. He may be shorter
He's,
than
al-
Karen Reed.
he's also the most buff. Have you seen Alessi in a little t-shirt?
Well, we've been together a couple of. What are you talking about? No, I've not seen him in a t-shirt.
There's video on the Twitters, I believe. It's I think it's some of Liza, Alan Jackson, and all four of the attorneys, just not Tory George, doing some cooking. I think they were cooking steak or something. And Alessi's in a little grey muscle tee. He works out.
Nice. Well, we know he drags that massive ice chest with him every day because he has his own special food concoctions.
Do you know what he calls it? The Yeti, because it's a Yeti, but he calls it the Yeti.
And those Yetis, I'm telling you right now, you have to be an attorney to afford one. Have you ever priced out one of those Yeti ice chests? They're like $400 or $500 for an ice chest. Crazy. But yeah, he doesn't surprise me that he's a little jacked because he has a very particular diet.
Well, sidebar, they were talking about in this little clip, they were talking about something about ordering pizza, and Alessi says, well, I haven't had pizza in years. He has a very strict, sensible, very, very much a weightlifter's diet, I believe.
Interesting. Yeah, and let's just say from his professional manner, he's intense, right? So
I love him.
I could see that carrying over into his, taking care
everywhere.
of
Yes.
Yeah.
So back to this jury view.
So yeah, let's see if there's anything else of note other than neighbors that were mad because they couldn't get in. There was actually a guy who's obviously an Uber Eats guy. He had a bag of some McDonald's food. He could not get in to deliver, and he finally gave up because he figured they're going to be mad he's late, or the food's going to be cold and he's not going to get a tip. But
he was hungry and he's like, I'll just have it.
He was kind of a large dude.